Should be live soon. Hello, everyone, and welcome to this beautiful Earth Council that we've created. These are all the members that have joined today to support you, and we'll go around in a little bit and do quick introductions. But I first wanted to set the intention so that we're all aware. These are really, the vision for these are having conversations that are simple yet powerful to raise the vibrational frequency of the collective, foster unity and offer support to those embarking on their spiritual journey. Or seeking some sort of a guidance regardless of where they are on their path. And we're going to do this as a collective, what's happening in the world. And this is really a chance for us to unite in strength and wisdom and compassion to support each other. And it's all about mutual empowerment. And we're going to create a safe and sacred space for all of us and sink into the collective and see how we can best support you. So let's just take a couple of minutes to close our eyes and take a couple of deep breaths. Breathing in through the nose and out through the mouth. And I'm going to ask to bring the attention from the outside world internally, dropping into the heart space. And from the heart, focusing in and connecting the heart to the heart of Mother Earth, connecting into the crystalline energy, opening up the energy chakras on the soles of our feet and allowing that exchange of energy between us and Mother Earth. As we allow this energy to move through our bodies, nurturing, replenishing our systems, syncing our heartbeat to that of Mother Earth, feeling completely grounded. From the heart, let's create another connection to the energy of Christ consciousness, to the energy of Creator, to the energy of unconditional love and compassion. Bring that energy down into the body, allowing it to sink into the heart, activating the divinity within, expanding this energy, and creating a protective bubble for all of us on the live stream and those that might watch this later as well. Connecting all our hearts together as one on the frequency of love and compassion. I'm calling in our guides, your guides, accessing the highest form of the collective consciousness to supply, to provide, to be a vessel of knowledge and wisdom today. Deep breath, and when you're ready, you can open your eyes. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. I was going to do a quick, just whip through, just tell us who you are, and perhaps a theme that either you've been experiencing or you're seeing in the collective that has been coming up for you. And I'm going to start just on the left of my screen, which is Lynn. How are you finding?
Morning, Natasha. Hi, everybody.
Hi.
I'm happy to join you from Victoria, Canada, for the West Coast. I am a counselor, certified trauma somatic specialist, and I love helping mentor in the spiritual realm of the Akashic records. The themes I'm noticing personally in my life are a lot of release and let go and stepping into the new. And while that's exciting, it's also sort of anxiety provoking. And also I'm experiencing a sense of almost a bit of blandness of I don't know this new way. And I know the very busy way. I know the being structured. I know those regimes and being the mom and all these roles. They've all fallen away, which I'm grateful for in one way. And in another, I'm experiencing this place of I don't know what's new. I don't know the new way. And so trying to sort of observe how that feels. And so interestingly enough, a lot of the people that are coming to me right now are saying the same of I'm shifting, I need to go, but I don't know what's next. And I'm terrified. And so that's sort of holding that curiosity of can we stay in this place of the unknown that's unfamiliar and therefore somewhat unpleasant to manifest what's coming. So that's just the themes that I'm experiencing personally, and then mirrored in the people I'm journeying with.
Absolutely. Thank you for sharing, Lynn. Joe, what's been coming up for you?
Hi, thank you for having me. I'm Jojo. I'm also in Canada. I'm close to Calgary. I work also with the Akashic Records, with the higher self. Like, I've never loved titles, but I do a bit of everything. What's been coming up for me is rude awakening for most of my clients.
Mhm.
A lot of integration, a lot of sheddings. And so, as Lynn's saying, like it's a place that is very uncomfortable. So I've seen a lot of kind of crashing down illusion as well. I do feel like the time we are in that time, right? It's new energies, new vibes, Saturn and Aries. I really feel that it's a new, we don't really know what the new will look like. For the one who've been looking at themselves, is not too bad. You have tools, but for if something needs to shift, it's going fast. I found the integration, the shedding is going fast. So for me, it's been mostly like a lot of physical stuff for my clients, unfortunately. And the mental is also very strong, obviously. But yeah, for me, it's more like crashing down a bit of our own illusion that's happening right now. To really kind of like for the best, but it's not always comfortable.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Brilliant. Thanks, Jojo. Rally, what's been coming up for your clients in your world?
Thank you guys for having me. I'm Rally with Readings with Rally. I am what has been coming up a lot for me personally, it's been like this forced time of radical rest. It's almost like being in a cocoon stage before something happens. And this is
Mhm.
uncomfortable for me because I like to do a lot of things. So this kind of pause has been very much filled with like friction and understanding like it's best for me to just surrender to this, but I don't know why I cannot just surrender to it. Just like a lot of increased hours of sleep, feeling more just lethargic, tired, and needing that additional rest. I've had a theme with clients of like essentially really high performing corporate women mostly deciding to leave their positions and do other things that are very like purpose based. So similar to what Jojo was saying, it's like filled with a lot of kind of fear of the new paradigm, but also realizing that they need to do this. And it's been very fascinating because it's like I'm trying to connect all of them with each other actually, because I feel like they're in a perfect container for this. But it's also exciting, but filled with, again, that sense of friction, the like letting go of like what I thought I would be doing and kind of leaning into what I actually want to do and that making that kind of leap of faith. But it's very, very interesting. And I have probably about 20 or 30 of them at once. So I feel people are feeling called towards a soul purpose right now, more than maybe ever, really.
Thank you. Thank you, Rally. Yeah, absolutely. I see that too. Hello, everybody that's joining us. Before I jump in with John, we will be opening up to questions soon around what's happening in the collective. If you have any questions, please drop them in and we'll start looking at some of them and answer some that come up. John, tell us what's been coming up in your world with you, your clients that you'd like to share.
Hello, everyone. Um, it's hard to forget my name as I wear a hoodie with it on it. um,
Love
and
that.
thank you for having me on again. It's really exciting. I felt compelled to say this, which is I feel like we're watching this back in the future. So hello from the future and from the past. Um,
Beautiful.
so the themes, a lot of resonance, and with the others. What is fascinating to me is that it is a way of looking through on very similar themes and experiences, but through quite different perspectives. The most dominant themes for my clients have been the solar activity. And so what I see as ascension waves triggering, like our sun is finally saying, okay, we're going to catch up with Earth. So that means a lot of solar activity to get there. And the reason the sun was holding back was because the Earth was it's an interconnectedness. So as soon as one, there's a partnership, and as soon as they both ascend, that's it. There's no going back. I mean, there's no going back anyway for those of us that choose higher vibrations and higher dimensions. There's nervousness because it's triggering. I was shown like a boiling kettle, the magma beneath the Earth's surface. There's a lot of activity, increased geological activity, and not just earthquakes, not just volcanoes, but a lot. And we feel it as humans, right? We feel it beneath our feet at this time. And there's a lot of fear because Earth is doing a lot of work to, you know, to undo and rebalance a lot of the very dark things that we're not aware of yet. There's such darkness that still needs to be exposed and then seen and then said, okay, I saw you, this is what's going to happen. And despite all our fear mongering around the world, Earth is taking a lot of this. Mother Gaia is taking this into her own hands with her local teams of elementals. And the friction I see from us humans is, but what's new? What do we? So we get that there's going to be some turbulence on the journey, but what are we co-creating here? What's all this for, and where's it going? And if you've been like me in my life until a year ago, where I was so used to just kind of moaning about the old world, I need to take responsibility and let that old world go and say, okay, well, really the focus now is the opportunity of what do we all want? Like, what do we want out of this world?
Yeah, beautiful. I've also been seeing a lot of the themes that are interconnected here as well. So thank you all for sharing. Yeah, for me, it's been quite an interesting perspective in the sense of because of everything that's happening in South Africa, it's pushed up quite a lot of looking at the blueprint of. I mean, I work in the Akashic Records, so looking at the soul's blueprint, why are we here, and what is our makeup is very, very interesting for me. And so I've started, when things were happening worldwide, my clients that were of that culture or, that country would start to feel the effects of it. And I understood it, but I've never really understood it until the big wooden spoon started mixing what's happening in South Africa. And it actually ended up pulling a lot of the themes that have been coming up as well for me and for my clients as well. So looking at that space of separation, that awakening, that what is it that we're wanting to create, moving forward, like you said, that surrender, that is kind of like the theme of this rebirthing process that we're in. And it's almost kind of like, it feels like it's like, the contractions that we go through just before we have a baby. It's like, it's almost kind of like it's extremely painful, but it's like we're gonna get out of this from the other side. But it's like you say, like the cocoon analogy has also been coming in a lot for me, that icky, gooey, sticky, horrible part. But how is it? What kind of a butterfly are we wanting to emerge as? And because of those energies that are coming in, I also feel this pull of kind of like stepping into empowerment, stepping into our power, but not the human power of kind of like, but it's more that cosmic power of living our blueprint is what's been coming in. And I think the more we hold on to the old paradigms and the conditioning, the harder it's been for our clients as well. So it's almost kind of like this needing to step into leadership and lead by example, lead by doing our own healing, lead by really, deciding, we are the creators of our world, and how are we going to mold and create what is coming in? And I think you're all right. I've also been seeing that in the sense of like, the more we hold on to the past, the more it actually hurts, the quicker we surrender. And a surrender isn't really giving up. It's an acceptance that this is where we are. How do we move forward? I think the quicker we've started coming out of the limitations that we're holding on to, the quicker things we manifest what we're wanting to create as well. So absolutely in alignment with all of you as to what is going on. And yeah, if there's any questions for those of you that are watching in a way that, we can support you in any way, please just drop it in, probably in capital letters, into the comments, and we're happy to support you. So as we wait for those, yeah, anybody else have any comments that of things that they've seen, or any advice that you've been getting for your guides or from the Akashic records? What has been coming up for you?
Natasha, as you're talking like that, something else that's been coming up huge, and it's all interconnected. The downloads that we're receiving are so high. If people are not able to slow down or haven't find a way to integrate that, that's when it crashes. It's very, very, very important to just learn to slow down, a lot more rest, a lot more self-care, because I've had a lot of people who are opening up out of a sudden. For me, I usually work with people who are actually in that field, but lately I've got a whole lot of people that have no clue and they open really fast, but they don't have any kind of technique. And what end up happening, you almost feel like you're losing it because it's so much new, so much higher, and the physical body is not used to it. And so that's when it crashes. That's why for me, I've seen a lot of physical crashes. But there's a way to it's integration as well of everything that happened this year. The last 6 months were intense, like we're shifting for real. And so it's really, that's why resting, lots of sleep, like self-care and all that. And self-care isn't just, we're talking about radical self-care, like priority kind of thing. So I've seen a lot of that too. Like the integration are so high, we're just not used to it yet.
Yeah, absolutely. Anybody else? Integration is important for sure. Yes, John.
Thank you. Yeah, I totally agree. Yeah, for some people I've connected with, the clients there, it's so fast. It's what was years for me. I thought it was going to be maybe months or weeks, and for some it's days. And they're like, I just need to take some time off work, right? It's like, well, it's a new world for you, for each of us. I feel the as Jojo was explaining, like I feel like going into self-care, in particular grounding. One thing we're not all used to with grounding is the both ways part, right? And I think the first part of grounding, seeing yourself like a lightning rod, and this was something I did with my membership group a few days ago, was starting to learn how to each individual take some of the burden of some of this very high vibration ascension waves and bring them into our bodies just as much as you can cope. And you know what? Maybe if that's like a small cup full, that's fine. Like it all helps. So just take as much as you feel you're capable of doing, and then grounding it deep into earth. And if you need to go past, several layers of earth trauma because some humans have been doing some bad stuff there, keep going until it feels good for you, perhaps all the way down to Gaia's heart. And then the receiving part as well, like allowing yourself to be supercharged again, just as much as it feels right for you. And yeah, my schedule, my days have just been massively opening up with space. And I have this feeling sometimes, and I'm sure you can resonate, Natasha's like, but I'm like always on John. I want to be dun 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 dun. And it's absolutely opposite at the moment. I'm being called to simplify, to make things very easy for me to do, to have, all the admin work just becoming little bits of light touches and everything being as easy and as simple. And the rest of the time, walks in nature, lots of grounding practice and explorations of these feelings that are coming in without having this overwhelm and almost, what's the word? This kind of manic feeling you can get, ungroundedness. If you don't do that, the consequence, we know this as being practitioners, but the rest of the world needs to learn as well that it takes a lot of effort and a lot of discipline to receive, which is a funny new way of living, right? But it's a beautiful challenge for us, and I think it's something we can help lead by example.
Yeah, that's some yeah, absolutely. I agree with that. And it's almost kind of like, I don't think we can sustain the pace that we had previously because it wasn't present or mindful. in any way or conducive, physically, mentally, emotionally, or spiritually, which is amazing. So we have a beautiful question here that I'm going to put out to the panel. If you could suggest, and maybe I'll go around and ask. And it comes from Sarah Sierra, and she says, how do we integrate then? What does that particularly look like? And she says she's new to this, but wants to learn. I have now started seeing things and hearing, new unknown sounds to me. Thank you so much. So yeah, how do we integrate? What is that big question of how do we integrate, and what does that practically look like? Who would like to take that on? Rally.
I think one of the most important things about integration is just like giving yourself time to land in your body. I also really think creativity is very important for integration. And it's not to create anything in specific, it's just creativity for creation's sake. It's like a process of just landing that information in, because once it comes, it has to like land in the body. So whatever you can do to kind of like make sure that it's actually stabilizing. I think so many of us, when we are first starting to open up our gifts, it can feel very like upper chakra, and then we don't actually like ground down the information we're getting. So lots of rest, going outside and actually grounding using nature. And I always find creativity, creating something almost to help like play with these downloads that you're getting, I think is really helpful. But it's just a process. And I think everybody actually might integrate slightly differently. So you're going to have to figure out the process of how it works for you. But really just thinking, is this information fully landing in my body? I think is like a really great way to, a great question to ask yourself when you first start opening up your gifts, because it can be very overwhelming.
Absolutely. Anybody like
Really, I was going to add to that and say the sense of surrender, because if we're going to be open to that gift coming in, we don't get to control it and limit it with, or we'd like to try with our self-limiting beliefs. So it's almost that surrender. And then can we step into the observational role of observing ourselves in the process? So we don't sort of get stuck in it or stuck in wanting to go back, because there will always be that sense of this is unfamiliar. Let's go back where it's familiar. Our nervous systems want to regulate with what's familiar, even if it's not to our highest and best frequency. So I think that's, also kind of helpful. And then I like to think of having curiosity. If you put a whole bunch of new toys in front of a kid, they are delighted and they're rummaging through and and I think if we can hold that curiosity for ourselves of how delightful that this is happening, how does it look? And I don't know how it looks, but I'm going to be playful with it. So those would be my things around, surrendering and then curiosity and playfulness.
Absolutely. Thank you. John.
Thanks. I love putting my hand up like a teacher. So yeah, the practice I find the most helpful for integrating is I have a little dog, a little Papillon, and he needs a lot of walking, right? So every time I step outside, I live right next to some woods and I go to the woods, I find myself, I've given myself some space. And then my mind is like, hey, John, remember that thing that happened? And so one example is I had a dream 2 nights ago. And it's like, well, I remember the dream. It was very lucid. It was about someone I know. And I talk to my dog. I just say, hey, Patch, do you remember? I had that dream. I was talking about it in yesterday's walk. And I don't know what he's really thinking. I'm not really asking him. But then I go through this process of like a thumbs up and a thumbs down. I'd say, or am I not sure? Like, was it really real? Like, how real was that for me? How does it feel in my heart? Is it a yes, a maybe, or a no? And then if I'm not totally settled on any of those, I'll just leave it and come back to it. And then for the things that I feel like by speaking out loud, it allows to bring it into this third dimension, and then feeling it and having some conscious like discernment. Is it really true? And then if it does sit into my heart and anchor into my heart, I say, well, what are you going to do about it, John? Like, if it's really a truth for you, what are you going to do? And sometimes that means I go away and I kind of update my mental models and beliefs. I might believe, oh, actually, yeah, there's a new mission I'm doing in Dreamtime now, and this was with this friend. That is a knowing for me now. And understanding, okay, what are the steps I would do in my day? Would I contact that person in this example, or would I just accept it as my new truth, or am I not sure and I want to give it more time? And yeah, I find that really helpful because I feel from every client session I'm doing every day, I keep getting all these new things constantly, and my brain's just like, I can't. My brain just can't remember them all. But the ones that seem powerful stick, and it's not my brain that's processing them; it's my brain trying to get them into my heart. Our brains aren't great at feelings, right? But our hearts are it's the superpowers of our hearts that can help.
Absolutely. Beautiful. Thanks, John. Joe.
As usual, I do things differently, which that's where we're moving to, seeing things differently. For me, integration, there's many ways you can do it different ways, but I like to explain like that. Like if you think of vibration and frequency, right? So you're trying to integrate, I see it as a triangle, like love, gratitude, and it vibrates like all nice and cute and fast, for example. If it's trying to land in a body that was vibrating in control or like performance or whatever, something a bit more dense, if you want to integrate something that's vibrating really high into a dense, then something has to be let go. So in order to integrate also, it's like simplifying is huge, surrender is huge, but also looking into like if you're trying to integrate trust instead of fear, and then so when the fear comes up, you'll have to like do the work to release it and move it to a different place. So it's like something, it goes faster, I found, if you are able to release what no longer is in vibration to where you're trying to go, so that it can, like giving it room. So really making room in your system so that it can land. But yeah, integration is huge. And I found, I mean, if you don't slow down, it would be hard. And slow down, you can have a busy life still learning to slow down a little. So there's really different ways to do it, but simplifying, acknowledging what's maybe like keeping you in a more dense frequency and whatnot, and starting to release it slowly and integrate, like, oh, I'm just going to trust instead of being in doubt. Or I'm just going to, so you use tools to slowly move you to where you're going. But a lot have to be let go right now. A lot.
Beautiful. Thank you. Yeah, it's hard to let's see what else I can add to that. The beautiful thing is, yes, in order to receive something, we need to let go, because if we're holding on to something, you can't receive anything. The beautiful thing about the information that we're receiving, the method that I usually tend to go into is into that space of observation. So I observe kind of like, what are my thoughts? What are my feelings? What is going on? So sometimes it's easier to do that from outside of the body, especially if we're triggered, it's looking at, okay, well, what about that situation triggered me? Why did it trigger me? What did I make it mean? What is the story I'm telling myself? Because that will help you to let go of the stories and integrate that a little bit more. Because a lot of the times we don't know what to let go of, because we're holding on so tight. So that space of that surrender, that quietening down, it's almost like if you do yoga, it's like shavasana. At the end of it, the last 5-10 minutes is probably as important as the whole practice in itself, because you're bringing in that information, you're allowing to embody these changes. And the other part about integrating that makes it super important is it's not about beating yourself up for what you did in the past, the behaviors. Whatever you did in the past, you did because it kept you safe. It's because what you knew. Now that you have a new awareness of what you would prefer, it's not about beating yourself up, but it's about looking at it going, okay, how did that serve me up until now? And what actions, what changes can I do moving forward so that I don't repeat this again? Because that's in that space of expansion. So that is you looking at, what do you need to release? What are the old stories? And what do you need to bring in, which is your new actions, which creates your new reality. So it's about, how do I respond to this now, moving forward? I hope that is helpful as well. So we have another great question here that we'd like to look down. Journaling is a great way to integrate as well, remembering your journey as well. I forgot to say that. So a question from Lily here. She says, feeling a growing tension between old systems breaking down and new paradigms emerging. What beliefs must we release? I'm just going to turn that into, because it's a global conversation, must we release to shift into more of a harmonious collective reality? We'd like to hit that one first. Rally.
I mean, there are so many, but I'll just start off with the few that are really coming to mind. This us versus them paradigm that needs to be released. I feel like that can be applied in so many different ways, in so many different cultures, countries. There's so much of this pitting people against each other. And I feel like this has really created a lot of confusion, especially because we are all essentially unified here, whether we want to admit it or not. Secondly, this idea that there's a lack of resources, a lack of money, a lack of love. I feel there's a lot of tension between fear-based thinking and not realizing that actually we are meant here to be limitless. I really fully believe that. So I think that those are the two main things that I'm really seeing triggered right now in the collective I'm working with. This collective of like, it's their fault that I'm like this. And also, I'm never going to have enough. That's like this, it's like this hamster wheel that can be very destructive. So those are the two I've been really like trying to work with my clients to sort of be like, okay, how can we approach this slightly differently where there's like a little bit less of this anger. And I'm not saying that anger isn't justified, because it is. It's very important that we acknowledge that feeling, but also realizing that it's not always, we're not meant to be living in such a divisive state all of the time. Yeah, that's what I have.
Beautiful. Thank you. John.
That was lovely, Riley. Thank you. I definitely resonate with this global unity, whether we like it or not. I feel so many of us, there's this dominant feeling of, but look at the atrocities. How can I ignore that? And somehow that is tightly coupled with wanting to fix old systems and wanting to fix the old. And it's hard, right? It's hard to say that is old in that it is not serving us, that the divisiveness, the fear, the separation is destroying us. And we will only ever, neighbor against neighbor, family member against family member, we will just continue to fight each other. And that it is a never-ending war where no one wins. And I've never seen a war, solve a war, stop wars. And yet the opposite, the opportunity we're being given is really beautiful, which is this opportunity to say, we can do better and it can be much simpler. And even old systems, if I pick on one, right? Where do you think, for example, in the UK, our government debt, where does our government debt comes from? It comes from you and I. It comes from our pensions. Of all the places that I thought that it may come from, me, I own government debt. Yeah, in fact, most of us do. And it's shocking when you're like, well, how does that work? It's like, am I borrowing money from myself? Like that is an old system that needs to find a better way. And I do feel that as we allow the truths to be seen and felt, we all get conscious decisions and choices. And I would never want to deny any of the suffering that's going on in the world, because it is vast and it's accelerating. And for many people, it's forcing them to awaken. Their souls have said, when it gets really bad, that's when I awaken. And suddenly they're like, bam. And they're like, what do I do with my life? And what's going on in this crazy world? And so now we get this next choice. And I can only, offer the suggestions of feeling into your heart, but what are all the things that bring you the most joy? What are all the things that bring you the most love and connection with the planet and with nature? If you ever feared a world war, don't worry, because this planet is taking back its control. If you ever feared separation, don't worry, because we are all in unity, whether we like it or not. We're all in the same home together. And every time we catch ourselves in those triggered moments where we're like, but it's just so bad. Look what they're doing to other people. Other people are doing this to other people. In those moments when we find that love in our hearts and say, you know what, I can end this. I can be the end of this cycle because this has gone on for too many cycles and too many lifetimes. I can be the end of this, and I'm bringing love into this, and I'm choosing to step out with higher vibration choices that aren't just fueling in my fear and fighting yet another war.
Beautiful. Thank you, John.
Yeah.
Then Joe, you want to add? Joe?
Yeah, for me, I'm excited about it. Like, meaning we have to rebuild. And so, like, yeah, like you said, Natasha, like if you look at a woman giving birth, you're like, nothing good can come out of this, right? So it's a bit where we're at. It's like, yes, a lot of things have to like break down before they get rebuilt, but it's an exciting moment because we can finally rebuild as we that as it feels. You know, the school system, the 9 to 5, the relationship, everything was built, everything has to be a bit transformed. And so I found I like to whatever's happening on the world is also within us. As we say, it's all interconnected. And so it really is a matter of like, how is it going within you? You know, where is the polarities and dualities and whatnot? And be careful what you watch. If you're going through that, you know, like if you know something will trigger you very much, maybe until you feel solid enough to discern or not let it in your field, then don't do it, you know, until you're, because there is a lot of like, it's that's what we're in, left, right, up, as above, so below, black, white. That's what it is, and so we slowly start putting it together, and it starts within us too. So, but for me, I'm excited to rebuild because it's been upside down for way too long, and so finally we could be like, how can we do it differently? And it's for everything, how we do life, how you do like it's personal and it's fun if you get excited about it.
Absolutely. Love excitement. Lynn?
Yes, not much to add on those lovely themes already. Just to say that I share the world sort of suffering of what we're watching in the pain, but also in the excitement of how many of these social constructs and ways of being have to crumble. And to me, it also speaks to that life lesson that we're all trying to learn of impermanence and lack of attachment. And we spend so long in our lives trying to stay attached, trying to get the permanence. And, you know, that sort of enhances our experience of suffering in a way when we're in that way. And so I also feel that this is a global call to work with impermanence and lean into that however hard. And I'm not pretending for 5 seconds I find that easy either. But I think it's a calling to us all to lean into that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the only thing that we can guarantee in this life is death and of the physical body, and which even that it doesn't really die; it just transforms. But it's change, is what's happening, and I think the younger generations help us with that in the sense that they adapt to change a lot faster than we do, in our generations as well. But I think that what is also coming up with these changing of structures is we're very much using releasing the survival mentality to the thriving mentality in that, and we mentioned it earlier, that moving from that space of lack and actually giving ourselves permission to receive what is out there. And the other thing that's been coming up in order to do that is, so for example, I know that there's been a lot of job losses recently as well, and when we sit in that space, and you know, it's an opportunity to kind of like look at, okay, you know, like John was saying, you know, you get to that stage where it gets really, really bad, and our souls call these energies towards us to make the change that we weren't able to make because we were stuck in this 9 to 5 rat race that is there. And it really is that opportunity to start that, what brings me joy, what expands me, and setting in those boundaries, because I know that a lot of those jobs that were lost, for example, might be pushed on to other people to do that, you know, the same roles. And I think it's up to those that, you know, need to kind of like say, put up those boundaries and go, okay, no, you know, the buck stops here, in order to allow for those changes to come as well. Because yes, we are spiritual, but it also doesn't mean that we need to accept everything either. But it also means that we need to start looking at, you know, how do we take responsibility for our world and what we are doing and what is in alignment with our expansion and joy, because this life that we experience here is way too short to do anything else. And I think we're starting to come out of those 9 to 5 paradigms that are there. And I think even for businesses, doing themselves a disservice in that sense, because of forcing people to do this 9 to 5, where, I work best at like between 4 and 6 a.m., 7 a.m., whereas other people, 11 a.m. is a great time for them. So we're not even using that creative energy where we are at our best and giving from overflow that is coming in. And I think that is starting to shift. Not only to all of us, but I think it's also starting to shift within corporate. But there is very much that aspect of the change really needs to be internal in that sense, because and I think Bashar uses this example. It's like looking in the mirror and expecting your reflection to smile before you internally do. And it's like somebody was saying on the panel earlier that whatever is happening in the outside world is definitely a reflection on the inside world, especially if you're triggered. And triggers are amazing because that is where we need to do the work. That is where we're needing to let go of in that space. If you give yourselves the grace to understand it and observe it and then let it go and change it, and changing it by our actions, it's drawing that line and going, okay, what are the lessons I'm drawing towards me and how am I going to change that? For sure. Okay. Anybody else have any other comments? Let me have a look at what's coming up here. Yeah, there's a lot of overwhelm happening in the world as well. And there's some resonance case confirming what she heard from John as well, that it's true, what she's going through as well. So yeah, any other questions or where are we doing for time? Any last comments? Let's just do a quick round of last comments, last bit of suggestions to support humanity moving forward, or people where they're at for the next month until we join again. I think it's on the 9th of July that we will meet again. So I'm going to start with the bottom of my screen. John, any last suggestions or any words of wisdom to help people?
No pressure. I mean, I think what's dawning on me is that as I look at myself here in a Zoom call on YouTube, this is it. Like, we are the creators of this new world. We're looking in the mirrors each day and we're looking at the co-creators of this new world. And there's a lot of responsibility. But the good news is that we came here with purpose and with a reason, and our souls chose to come here to help. And lightly, all the answers we seek are within us. So definitely over the next month, allowing ourselves to not be distracted, take plenty of time for our integration practices, as we heard, and our self-care, and feeling into the excitement of imagine this world doesn't need to be this way. It can be the way we hoped it would be when we were born, and learned that we had quite a lot more than we realized of work to do. But the good news is this is it. We're doing it now. And so if you're listening to this, you are the co-creators of this new world. So thank you.
Thanks, John. That's some good advice. Rally.
I just want to say that I promise you, no matter how hard it feels right now, I guarantee that it will be okay. Take time out for yourselves this month. If you are in a hemisphere where we're gearing up to summer, really use that solar energy to assist you in kind of like opening up and expanding. And also, I think I heard this last month too, but adopt a sense of humor. Try to find that sense of humor and bring that back into your day to day. I promise that will go a long way in assisting in, kind of counteracting this friction. You guys got this.
Beautiful. Thanks, Rally. That's some good suggestions as well. Joe.
Oh my God, a last word of wisdom. For me, I say for June, I found a bit of the trickster energy around, which is fine, but I would go with maybe have a look into what in your life isn't authentic. What is
Mm-hmm.
authentic to you, and start to like slowly have a look at it and remove it from your life, because authenticity is a very high frequency. It doesn't really require any work. You just have to be yourself. It's finding who you are that might be a little bit more of the work. But I'm still feeling a bit of like, I'm not feeling the push yet either. So it's like,
Mm-hmm.
go ahead and see what's not authentic and what is actually avo is avoiding you to be on your spiritual path will have to be removed. If you're like longing for this and this is for you and you feel it in your heart, if there are things that are blocking you from becoming the spiritual person that you're trying to be or whatever, that will have to get removed. The rug will get pulled anyway, or it probably already has. But go with looking into where you're not being authentic and start shifting this slowly, and that'll bring you where you're going with a lot of rest.
Absolutely. Beautiful. Like that. Thanks, Joe. Lynn.
I can't top any of those beautiful suggestions. So just go be with that. And as we were saying, I was also just leading into the beautiful energy of the summer energy as we step into that. And then that beautiful sort of Gemini energy of stepping into the physical and the spiritual and finding that connection, remaining very grounded as you do it and reaching in to pull in that. So thanks again, Natasha, for having us all and join you today.
Absolutely. Thank you. And the vision that I keep getting as we all talk is I see us at the top of it, like, humanity we're like at the top of this kind of like water park slippery slide, and we're all trying to hold on to the sides, and the water pressure is building up behind us. So the suggestion is let go. Put your hands on your heart and enjoy the ride, because we are coming out the other side, and have fun. Just surrender to what is. Give yourselves grace. Give yourselves more love, not less, which is important right now. Drop into your body's ground, and one day at a time, one day at a time, one step at a time. And it's love yourself, and yeah, be the change you want to see, live the life you truly want to live. Stop putting that on hold. So absolutely, yeah, I love all of you. Thank you so much for joining me here today. Thank you for all those online that came and supported. Next one of these is live again on the 9th of July. And we'll hopefully see some of these beautiful faces again, showing suggestions. But yeah, take it easy. Thank you so
Thank
much,
you.
everybody. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.